The room erupted before he could finish. Cameras snapped toward the sound. Anthony Joshua stepped forward, jaw tight, shoulders rolling like he was ready to walk straight into a 12-round war at that exact moment. The energy twisted instantly. One of those moments where the entire world seems to exhale, freeze, and then wait for the inevitable explosion. Jake Paul had been walking around like he owned the storyline, letting his ego swell after canceling the fight, spinning a narrative that made him look like the smart businessman who backed out before being mistreated by the promotion. But the truth? Everyone in the boxing world knew exactly what it was, a panic move. Jake had built a reputation off theatrics, but this time he overplayed it, and Joshua, who had been silent for weeks, had finally had enough. It didn't start in the press conference room, no. This started weeks ago, behind cameras, when negotiations were grueling, chaotic, and Jake kept shifting demands as if trying to renegotiate his fate. Joshua was getting irritated long before the cameras saw anything. Each time Jake requested something outlandish, different gloves, venue changes, broadcast rights tweaks, AJ's patience faded. Everyone in Joshua's camp could feel the tension rising like steam inside a sealed pot. Jake didn't know it yet, but he was tightening the spring on a heavyweight who didn't like games. Fast forward to today, the day Jake officially backed out. When Jake walked into the media hall wearing a smug grin, swinging his chain like it was some kind of talisman of invincibility, everybody knew the theatrics were about to get out of hand. He strutted around, telling cameras how he refused to be disrespected, how he fired his old negotiators, and how he was done dealing with a system designed to trap him. The speech was dramatic, well-performed even, but nobody bought it. Least of all, the man standing quietly backstage, waiting, boiling, listening to Jake rewrite the script as if AJ had been the one ducking. When Joshua finally entered, he didn't smile. He didn't wave. He just walked forward, calm, heavy eyes burning with a kind of cold focus most fighters only summon minutes before the opening bell. Jake noticed immediately. His bravado cracked, just slightly, but enough for AJ to see it. And that tiny flicker of fear, that's when everything snapped. Joshua walked straight up to him. No hesitation, no theatrics. Reporters scrambled to get close. Security pushed forward. Jake stepped back, laughing nervously, trying to turn the moment into a joke. "Yo, relax, champ," he said, lifting his hands. "We ain't got to turn this into something." But AJ wasn't joking. "You wasted my time," he said. "You disrespected the game, and you think you can walk around like you're untouchable?" Jake swallowed. Cameras caught it. The moment was immortalized instantly. Yeah. Joshua shoved him hard enough that Jake stumbled into the backdrop, knocking one of the display panels sideways. The room imploded with noise. Jake's entourage lurched forward, shouting. AJ's team surged in. Security threw themselves between the two men as AJ pressed forward again, eyes locked on Jake like he was one punch away from making the entire fight cancellation irrelevant. "You don't cancel on me," Joshua barked, voice shaking the walls. "You don't run your mouth and walk out." Jake, scrambling to reorganize himself, held his hands out. Yo, chill, it's business." But AJ wasn't trying to hear it. He reached over the arms of two security guards, trying to grab Jake by the collar. "Business? You don't know nothing about this business. You play games. I fight." Jake tried to keep the cameras on him, tried to spin the narrative even while being held back, but the panic bleeding into his voice was impossible to hide. "You're overreacting, bro. This is PR. It's optics." Joshua lunged again. A chair fell. Ah! Jake's water bottle went flying. And for a split second, just a split second, the boxing world saw something it had been waiting for. Jake Paul completely out of character. No confidence, no cocky posture. Just wide eyes and the realization that he pushed too far. The melee would have turned into a full brawl if not for security physically dragging AJ backward while Jake's team shielded him. As they pulled Joshua away, He shouted one last thing, raw, loud, shaking the room.
Ev, Adamyaze, you canceled the fight because you knew what was coming. That's true. That line detonated through the boxing world. Of Japanese. Jake, red-faced and breathing fast, adjusted his jacket and tried to recover his presence. He's emotional, he said. He's doing too much. I make business decisions. I'm not scared of nobody. But his voice trembled. Reporters caught it. Twitter exploded. Millions saw, millions replayed, millions argued. And that was just the beginning. Jake didn't leave quietly. He turned it into a performance, pacing around the venue, yelling at his staff, ranting about being set up, spitting accusations that the promotion forced AJ into ambushing him. But every hallway camera caught him checking over his shoulder like Joshua might appear again. The confidence was an illusion, and the world could see it breaking. Meanwhile, AJ was outside, surrounded by his team, trying to cool down but still shaking with adrenaline. He wasted 8 weeks of camp, he said to his coach. 8 weeks. He punched his fist into his palm. He thinks this is a TikTok storyline. I'm a fighter. I bleed for this. And he makes it into theater. This stuff. The anger made sense. Joshua had returned to camp like a man reinvented. Stronger, leaner, sharper. His sparring partners said they'd never seen him hit that hard before. Trainers said he was locked in mentally, no distractions. This fight was meant to be his statement to the world, that he wasn't just back, he was dangerous again. And Jake, with one signature on a cancellation document, had ruined it. All Jake could think about was flipping the narrative online. All AJ could think about was the months of sacrifice that had just been disrespected. The two men were on collision courses, even outside the ring. Jake retreated to his SUV with his team, still yelling about PR damage. He was already planning the next video, already scripting how he would frame this incident as a win. But inside, fear was eating him alive. He knew what AJ looked like up close when angry. He knew what it felt like to be shoved by a heavyweight who could knock out any man alive with a single clean punch. And he knew that no matter how good he was at controlling narratives, this one had slipped. Joshua, on the other hand, left the venue like a man walking away from a burning building he didn't regret lighting. Silence. Calm. But everyone in his team could feel the storm still brewing inside him. He won't talk his way out of this, Joshua muttered. Next time I see him, he better be ready. And that set the stage. A canceled fight became a personal feud. A publicity stunt became a near assault. A rivalry became violent. Jake Paul had spent years provoking fighters, but this time he awakened something different. An old school heavyweight with nothing left to prove and no patience left to play games. And the world knew, every fan, every analyst, every fighter watching, that this wasn't over. This wasn't anywhere close to over. This was the beginning of a vendetta that would haunt Jake Paul until the rematch contract, or a hospital, forced him to face the consequences.